I've worked in hospitals' morgue for over a decade, witnessing life's final moments frozen in time. Every day, I encountered death, observing the fragile transition from the living to the deceased. But little did I know, the most horrifying experience of my career was yet to come. It was a dark, stormy night, the kind that sends shivers down your spine. The hospital corridors were eerily quiet, save for the distant hum of machinery and the occasional echo of footsteps. The room was unusually cold, the air thick with a strange energy that made my heart race. Something was off. As I prepared to carry out my nightly routine, my eyes fell upon a body that was not supposed to be there. A living person had been mistakenly delivered to the morgue and left frozen in one of the cold storage units. Panic gripped me, and a chilling realization washed over me like a tidal wave. How could this happen? How could someone be alive and yet encased in the realm of the dead? With trembling hands, I approached the frozen figure. Their eyes were wide open, filled with sheer terror, as if they had been conscious throughout the entire ordeal. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead, as fear gnawed at the pit of my stomach. Unable to bear the sight any longer, I rushed out of the morgue to seek help. I ran through the labyrinthine hallways, the darkness seemingly closing in around me. Finally, I reached the nurse's station, breathless and desperate. I pleaded with the staff to come to the morgue, to witness the impossible. But when we returned, the cold storage unit was empty. The living person, once frozen in time, had vanished without a trace. The hospital staff dismissed my account as a hallucination, a trick of the mind brought on by exhaustion and stress. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had encountered something otherworldly, something that defied the laws of life and death. From that night on, I saw shadows lurking in every corner, and every gust of wind carried whispers of the unknown. The morgue, once a place of solace, had become a chamber of horrors. I was tormented by the unanswered questions, haunted by the thought that the living person was still out there, trapped in a chilling limbo. The hospital continues its operations, oblivious to the horrors that unfolded within its walls. A few days later, I was inspecting the bodies and accidentally came across the same person. Goosebumps ran across my skin, and he looked me straight in the eye. I tried to check his pulse, but his heart was no longer beating. Story number 2. I had been working at the city morgue for over a decade, and during that time, I had seen my fair share of eerie sights. But nothing could have prepared me for the chilling events that unfolded one fateful night. As the only worker on the night shift, I was accustomed to the solitude, but that night, an inexplicable sense of unease hung heavy in the air. As I went about my usual routine, preparing the bodies for autopsies, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. It started with small things. A missing instrument here, a misplaced document there. I dismissed them as my own forgetfulness, attributing the lapses to the late hours and my tired mind. But soon, more alarming incidents unfolded. One night, while working on a deceased patient, I turned my back for a moment to retrieve a tool. When I returned, The body's organs had vanished from the tray. It was impossible for organs to simply disappear without a trace. Yet there they were, gone as if they had never existed. My heart raced, and a cold sweat trickled down my spine. I searched the room, desperately hoping to find an explanation. But all I found were empty shelves and vacant drawers. Fear gripped me like a vice as I struggled to find a rational explanation. Was someone playing a macabre prank? Or was something far more sinister at play? Determined to uncover the truth, I began conducting my own investigation. I meticulously reviewed the security footage, searching for any signs of unusual activity. But to my dismay, the cameras had captured nothing out of the ordinary. It was as if the organs were disappearing by some unseen force, defying all logical explanation. Night after night, the inexplicable continued. More organs vanished, leaving behind an eerie trail of unanswered questions. Finally, on the eve of my breaking point, I decided to take matters into my own hands. Armed with a flashlight and trembling with trepidation, I ventured into the depths of the morgue, determined to confront the source of these unexplainable phenomena. I stumbled upon a door I had never noticed before, concealed behind a forgotten cabinet. What I saw next shattered my fragile sense of reality. I saw all the organs on the table that were disappearing. They were laid out in the shape of a human body, as if someone wanted to assemble a new person with their own hands. I immediately ran out of that room and closed the door. But after the police arrived, they didn't find anything in the room. I still don't know what it was or who did it, but the fear that it could happen again lives in my head forever. This story is about how a group of friends rented a house through Airbnb and did not even expect that the low price of the house would hide one drawback: the paranormal activities that take place in it. A winding road unfurls through the heart of a picturesque American countryside, culminating at the porch of a charming two-story house. The quaint home, bathed in the soft glow of a setting sun, has a welcoming sign hanging on its door. Birds are silhouetted against the fading light, and there's a stillness that suggests tranquility. A car comes into view, its engine humming softly. It pulls up to the driveway, and soon the dust settles to reveal four friends. Their camaraderie is evident from their intertwined arms and shared laughter, even without the spoken word. Laden with backpacks and suitcases, they approach the house with a spring in their step, exchanging glances filled with anticipation. As the hefty wooden front door creaks open, the house appears to take a deep, audible breath, as if waking from a long slumber. An almost tangible coolness seems to flow from the inner recesses of the house, creeping into the hallway, touching the very souls of the visitors. The friends pause for a moment, an unspoken understanding passing among them. The narrow hallway, lined with faded floral wallpaper, extends into the depth of the house, and the dim light reveals worn wooden floors, their boards whispering tales of bygone years. Gazing around, they find themselves in a spacious living room adorned with time-worn furniture. Dark mahogany tables and chairs, embroidered cushions, and a large chandelier with a few missing crystals dominate the space. A few portraits hang on the walls, their subjects' stern faces watching silently. Cobwebs hang discreetly in some corners, suggesting that the house hasn't entertained guests for some time. Outside, the yard seems to be stuck in time. Overgrown shrubs, a rusted swing set, and a stone pathway, now hidden under a blanket of fallen leaves, paint a picture of years of neglect. An old birdbath, devoid of water, stands as a lonely sentinel in the midst of the untamed greenery. The property's description, they recall, mentioned it being a bargain at just $50 a night, given its spaciousness. The low price was attributed to its character and history, but in hindsight, these terms seem to be euphemisms for the unsettling atmosphere that now enveloped them. While the group scatters to explore, one friend, Claire, a photography enthusiast, carefully places a vintage camera on an ornate side table. As the flash intermittently lights up the room, it captures their initial excitement, smiles, open suitcases, and the cheerful chaos of settling in. But among those pictures, some also capture Claire's pensive face. She had mentioned earlier, albeit hesitantly, about the house's energy, expressing her unease. Her friends had laughed it off, attributing her feelings to an overactive imagination. But now, as the weight of the house's history settled around them, her words seemed to carry a foreboding truth. Night descends, and the four gather in the living room. They light a fireplace, and its dancing flames cast both warmth and eerie shadows across the room. The house, once filled with laughter, slowly succumbs to a series of peculiar events. A sudden gust of wind blows out the fireplace. The friends jump, startled. They reignite it, trying to laugh off their initial shock. But then, from the corner of the room, a rocking chair begins to sway on its own. Its creaks, rhythmic and persistent, add a dissonant soundtrack to their evening. Upstairs, a door slams shut. A friend's Polaroid camera spontaneously clicks, ejecting a photo. When the image develops, it reveals a shadowy figure standing behind one of them, its features blurred but its presence undeniable. The atmosphere becomes dense. The wind howls outside, the windows rattle, and the lights flicker. On a wall, framed family portraits seem to shift, their subjects' eyes following the friends. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, all goes quiet. The friends huddle together, feeling the weight of invisible eyes upon them. Just when the tension seems unbearable, a soft lullaby wafts through the air, its origin unclear. It's both calming and chilling. Dawn breaks, and the paranormal activity wanes. The once vibrant group, now pale and shaken, hurriedly pack their belongings. They leave the house as swiftly as they arrived, the car speeding away with a trail of dust behind it. The house, once again bathed in the morning sun, seems as innocuous as any other dwelling. But as the camera pans to a window, the reflection shows the shadowy figure, waving goodbye. The tale, recounted by one of the eyewitnesses through the lens of the vintage camera, serves as a chilling reminder of the unseen residents of the countryside abode.